Hey everyone, welcome back to Engelbard Gaming. Today I've got a review of a brand new game for an old system. I'll be talking to you about Frontier Force for the Sega Master System, brought to us by badcomputer. For most of you, I imagine this isn't the first review of the game that you're watching, and you might think you know everything there is to know about it already. If you think that,
well, you're wrong!
I'll go a little bit more in-depth than some others while also trying to keep this short and to the point, but I also won't show anything from the ending, so consider this spoiler-free. Which, I guess spoilers aren't exactly a huge deal for a game like this, but there you are anyway. Before I go on, a small disclosure. This game costs $5 for the digital version, but it was provided to me for free for review. All opinions are 100% my own, of course, and no one is seeing the script for the review or the video itself or anything before it goes live, so no one but me had any input into it whatsoever. With that out of the way, let's get on with it. Frontier Force is a new game for Sega's 8-bit Master System console. You can check out plenty of my other videos on the channel for information on the Sega Master System, but just in case you're new to retro gaming, I'll let you know it was an 8-bit competitor to Nintendo's NES with fairly similar specs and performance. Sega's console had a few advantages over Nintendo's of the era, in that it could display more colors on screen and had a faster CPU, but the standard PSG sound chip in it was worse, a relic that had appeared in older devices like the ColecoVision. Later on, in Japan, there was an optional FM sound add-on unit, and then that FM sound unit was later built in to the future Japanese SMS, but we never got it in the West. We never saw the standalone FM sound unit, and we never got a system with the FM sound built into it. So I want to note up front here that Frontier Force only has a PSG soundtrack, at least as far as I can tell, which is fine, because if you really want to recreate the old SMS days, most of us never had access to an FM sound unit. Now, Frontier Force itself is a single-screen shoot-'em-up, or shmup, and it plays kind of like a classic arcade game that never was, and is pretty well suited to the limitations of the Sega Master System. If you're wondering what other games that it's like or compares to, I'd say consider it sort of an amalgam of games like Galaxian, Buster Brothers, and Missile Command. I'll explain how it has elements of each in just a few moments, but this is very much a classic arcade-style experience. So if that's not what you're looking for in a game, then this one won't be for you. If that is your thing, then good news, you'll probably love this game. So I'll start by talking about the audio-visual elements of Frontier Force, and then we'll get into the gameplay. So visually, Frontier Force looks really nice for the type of game that it is. The backgrounds are colorful, they have some animated components, and enemies and bullets clearly stand out from the background, so it's always easy to see exactly what's going on, as long as you're paying attention. There are 5 stages, and each has a unique background. Aside from that, there are some nice little chunky 8-bit still pictures that show both during the game's opening and ending cutscenes. I would say visually this game easily rivals classic professional titles. Your main character, named Guy, looks an awful lot like Harrier from Space Harrier, which I'm sure is no coincidence. Also, he's teeny tiny, but that's pretty much mandated by the style of gameplay here. Stage enemies come in 3 sizes: small, medium, and large. Some medium and large enemies are made up of multiple components that can be destroyed individually, while most are single complete units. The game's bosses are huge, and in true classic 8-bit style, the screen goes black while you fight them on a black background. Well, all of them except for one, and that's because in 8-bit titles like this, large bosses often were backgrounds because of the limited amount of sprites that were available on the hardware, and you can only display so many sprites on a single horizontal line as well. Now, Frontier Force throws a fair amount of enemies and bullets on the screen at once, and there's absolutely no slowdown. But there are a few occasional bouts of flicker and sprites that vanish. Now, I don't want to overstate the issue. It doesn't happen that frequently, but in a complete game run, you will see it several times throughout the game. I will also note that unlike some other games in the genre, enemy bullets are very easy to see, and I never once died and had to think, what even hit me? In terms of sound and music, things are pretty well done here too. As I mentioned, all the sound works on the old Sega Master System SN76496 PSG. This sound chip is pretty basic for anyone unfamiliar with it, featuring 4 sound channels, 3 square wave channels, and 1 noise channel. It has a few operation modes: extended noise mode, which allows for only 2 square wave channels, and the noise channel, but allows for the noise channel to have a much wider range of sounds. So you're very limited in options when using this chip. Now, the music in this game was written by Crisps. He's somebody that I remember seeing around the Deflomask Discord in the old days when I used to hang around there and actually be present. Slightly knowing him hasn't affected my opinion of the music, which I will give you now. The music in Frontier Force is pretty nice. It's reminiscent of what you'd hear in old-school European 8-bit computer and SMS games. It makes use of techniques like fast arpeggios and some of the tone channels to add a little bit of variety to the sound. There are different songs for each level, and each of them fits the level, and the moods of the songs range from intense and serious to a little more lighthearted and almost happy. I don't think most people would be into listening to these songs outside of the context of the game, but they're still well done overall and sound appropriate while playing during the spots they play in. The sound effects are decent and similar to a lot of other SMS games. Alrighty, so now the gameplay. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, Frontier Force plays like a few other classic games sort of rolled into one. You may think that the fact that each level takes place on a single screen is a little bit limiting, but I think it works out because of how everything else is integrated into the game. Each screen has 3 buildings on it, 2 smaller ones on the sides and 1 larger one in the middle. Waves of enemies, or larger single enemies, enter from either the tops, sides, or bottom of the screen. You can only fire straight up, and you have 2 basic goals throughout this game to progress through each of its 5 levels. First,
Just stay alive no matter what occurs.
and second, don't let the enemies destroy those buildings. To combat the seemingly endless stream of aliens, you have 4 main weapons and 2 powerful sub-weapons. Every weapon, except your standard plasma gun, has a limited amount of ammunition. Each enemy is weak against a particular type of ammo, and your main weapons are the plasma gun, a short-range flame cannon, a missile launcher, and a chain gun. Weapon ammo can be slightly replenished from some supply drop enemies that show up from time to time after you take out a few waves of enemies. But make no mistake, you'll have to use your limited ammo weapons carefully if you want to succeed in this game. By default, you switch weapons by holding down and pressing a button to cycle through them. You can change this in the options if you want to a few different choices, but I found the default scheme works the best for avoiding accidental weapon changes. Your 2 special or sub-weapons are the laser and bombs. Bombs are very limited in supply and damage any airborne enemies. Unless I'm mistaken, they don't seem to do any damage to enemies that are on top of buildings. Now the laser, which is much easier to get ammo for than most of the other weapons, fires a long continuous burst that's really useful for large stage enemies and bosses. By default, you tap button 2 to launch a bomb and hold button 2 to fire the laser. You can also dash left or right by double tapping on the control pad in those directions, and this is an essential technique to learn to finish the game. It's not just for avoiding enemy fire, but for getting to enemies on top of buildings and destroying them before they can detonate. And I will add that it takes several detonations to destroy a building, but once you do, you lose a life, same as getting shot or colliding with an enemy. Now there are a few power-ups in the game, such as the aforementioned ammo replenishments, but you'll also occasionally find a shield that lets you take 1 hit without dying, but also wears off in a limited amount of time, whether you've taken a hit or not. You can also pick up point drops and medals are worth increasingly more the longer you survive. But the gameplay in Frontier Force gets pretty intense at times. You might find yourself dealing with a larger enemy that fires a lot of bullets on the screen, while also having to protect buildings from enemies that drop bombs on them or attach to the buildings and explode after a while. Difficulty-wise, this game is hard. Old school hard. If you're used to modern shooters, you're probably not ready for this one, folks. It's definitely doable with some practice, like the best old games were, but you have to devote some serious time and attention to it if you want to finish it. While 5 levels doesn't sound like a lot, it's still about 30 minutes long for a skilled run from start to finish, maybe about 25 minutes or so for experts. Now you'll also get 3 continues and can change the difficulty if you find the normal mode a bit too hard. You can also, of course, make it harder. There are a variety of enemies and enemy movement patterns to deal with. Aside from the standard enemies that you'll kill normally throughout the stage, you also have some other obstacles to deal with, like enemies that emerge from the ground and create spots on the ground that make it intraversable, at least without getting killed, for a limited amount of time. Frontier Force really demands your focus. If your mind starts to wander at all during this game, you will not survive. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention before this is that the game features dynamic difficulty during gameplay. So if you start doing better, it starts getting harder, just like the greatest titles and some other classics. Now I stuck with the game on normal until I was able to finish it. Now, I won't spoil anything, but once the game is over, it gives you a useful little message that will make playing through it again much easier. I'll just say after that first playthrough, you'll feel like you have the opportunity to get revenge on the game for being so tough. As for extras, even if you buy the digital version of the game, it comes with a PDF manual that's in the exact same style as the old Sega Master System US releases, at least, and it's very authentic and helps make this one feel like a lost game from the original SMS era. As for where you can get the game if you're interested, it's on itch.io for $4.99, and there's also an upcoming physical release of the game if you want to order that, that's expected to ship sometime between July and September of 2025. I put links in the description of where you can buy either the physical or digital versions of the game if you're interested. Alright, so now that we've covered how Frontier Force looks, sounds, and plays, How good or not is it? While the visuals don't exactly set new standards in SMS graphical pizzazz, it looks really nice for what it is, and as I mentioned earlier, easily stands up against professional releases for the system. My only recommendation on the graphical front would be to do just some slight tile animation on the smoke for the volcano background. It looks a little weird that it's completely static and doesn't move at all. Just some real subtle tile animation at the edges of the smoke would have really helped bring this area to life. Other than that, for the genre of game we've got here on the Sega Master System, according to its hardware capabilities, everything else is very well done. And sound and music are also both well done, and you won't want to turn the volume down. Unless you're the kind of monster who listens to quote-unquote real music while you play games. You people disgust me. But in all seriousness, the music is nice. It would have been cool if there was an FM music option, since I imagine the vast majority of people playing Frontier Force will be doing so on emulators that support the SMS FM chip. So it's a little disappointing that's not here, but what is here sounds good. And the gameplay is also very good. But I do find that I wished some of the levels were a bit shorter, and that there were maybe a few more of them instead. Each level, when mastered, takes about 5 to 7 minutes to finish. I would have preferred, say, 7 levels that were more like 3.5 to 5 minutes each. A few just feel like they go on for a little too long, and the difficulty may be a turnoff for some, but if you were a Master System fan back in the day, you were used to hard games, and Frontier Force is still way friendlier than most official games for the system, released back in the 80s and early 90s. Overall, I'm going to give Frontier Force an 8 out of 10. And as for context here, I'm rating it both on how good the game is in general, and how good it is for the hardware it's running on, considering its limitations. Bad Computer really managed to polish this release to a very professional level. I didn't notice a single bug or weird issue during the few hours that I spent playing through it several times. I didn't notice any weird collision detection. Every death seemed to be completely earned during my time with the game. There's also quite a lot below the surface in this one, like the complex scoring system, which I didn't even really get into, so you can discover that one for yourself. I think any fan of classic arcade-style games, or just intense shooters in general, will dig Frontier Force. I also think any Sega Master System fan from back in the day will really like this game too. While there were a few minor things I wish had been done just a little bit differently, there's no doubt that this is a high-quality title, and I have no problem recommending it to anyone from either of the groups I just mentioned, which I also feel strongly are this game's exact target audience. If you're a classic gaming fan in general, you should like it too. Unless you really hate shoot-'em-ups. Alrighty, so tell me folks, what do you all think? Have any of you watching this already played the game? What's your opinion on it? How long did it take you to finish it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Tell me all about it in the comments. That'll do it for this video, my retro gaming friends. If you enjoyed it, please like it and share it online somewhere. If you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any of my videos. If you want to support the work that I do here, you can do that on Patreon, Ko-fi, or right here on YouTube through stuff like Super Thanks and channel memberships. With that, I'll say thanks for watching, and see me later.